You did all 3 of these yesterday. You'll probably do all 3 today. They don't feel like mistakes. They're not dramatic. Nobody warns you about them because they're so normal that they've become invisible. They're just what a modern day looks like. But quietly, in the background, these 3 ordinary habits are working against the hormone that controls your energy, your drive, your body composition, your mood, and how you feel when you open your eyes in the morning. And here's the part that gets men. It doesn't announce itself. There's no bad day, no symptom you can point to. It's just a slow slide. You feel a little flatter than you did a few years ago, a little less driven, a little more tired, and you assume that's just what getting older feels like. Some of that is age. A lot of it isn't. In the next 8 minutes, I'll break down the 3 daily habits doing the most damage, exactly what the science says each one does to your hormones, and the specific fix for each. Habit number 2 is the one almost nobody connects to testosterone, and most men do it for 8 hours straight. Habit 1. You're not sleeping enough, and the sleep you get is fragmented. Start with the fact that reframes this entire topic. The majority of your daily testosterone release happens while you're asleep. Production is tied to your sleep cycles, and levels typically peak in the early morning after a full night of rest. That means sleep isn't recovery time that happens alongside your hormonal system. Sleep is when the hormonal system does its job. The research here is blunt. In a well-known study, healthy young men restricted to around 5 hours of sleep per night for 1 week showed a substantial drop in daytime testosterone. A decline researchers compared to aging by more than a decade. 1 week of short sleep. That's all it took. Now think about how a normal modern night actually goes. You get into bed later than you meant to. You scroll for 30 or 40 minutes under blue-toned light that suppresses melatonin and pushes your body clock later. You had coffee at 3 in the afternoon, and caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 6 hours, so a meaningful amount is still circulating when you lie down. Maybe you had a drink or two, which helps you fall asleep faster, but fragments the second half of the night and degrades sleep quality. Result? You're technically in bed for 7 hours, but the actual restorative sleep you're getting is far less than that. And you repeat it every night, for years. The fix: 3 specific things in order of impact. Set a caffeine cutoff around 8 hours before bed. Get the phone out of the bedroom for the final 30 minutes. Keep a consistent wake time, even on weekends, because your body clock is driven far more by when you wake than when you sleep. That's it. No supplements required. Habit 2 is the one almost no man connects to his hormones, because it doesn't feel like a habit at all. It feels like just your job. And most men do it for 8 or 9 hours a day without a second thought. Habit 2. You sit almost all day, and your body reads that as a signal. Do the math on an ordinary day. Sitting at breakfast. Sitting in the car or on the train. Sitting at a desk for 8 hours. Sitting at dinner. Sitting on the couch until bed. For a lot of men, that's 12 to 14 hours of sitting in a 24-hour period. Here's why that matters hormonally, and it's not just about burning fewer calories. Sedentary behavior is associated with lower testosterone levels, and there are several mechanisms behind it. Prolonged sitting reduces muscle activation, and muscle tissue is a major driver of insulin sensitivity. The less you use it, the more insulin resistance tends to develop, and insulin resistance is repeatedly linked with lower testosterone. Extended sitting also drives fat accumulation over time, particularly around the abdomen, and abdominal fat contains aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. So sitting sets off a chain: less muscle stimulus, worse insulin sensitivity, more fat storage, more testosterone converted away. And the trap most men fall into is thinking a gym session cancels it out. It helps enormously. Resistance training is associated with better hormonal profiles. But an hour of training does not fully offset 13 hours of stillness. Researchers describe these as separate variables. Your training and your total daily sedentary time both matter independently. The fix: 2 levers. First, add resistance training 2 to 4 times per week. This is the single most valuable thing you can do for your body composition and your hormones. Second, break up the sitting. Stand or walk for a few minutes every hour, and get a daily walk of 20 to 30 minutes. The walk is not about calories. It's about not spending your entire life in a metabolic state your body interprets as shutdown. And the third habit is the most invisible of all, because it's not something you do once. It's a state you live in permanently, and it may be doing more damage than the first two combined. Habit 3. Your nervous system never fully switches off. Cortisol, your main stress hormone, and testosterone exist in something close to an inverse relationship. When chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, testosterone tends to suffer. The logic is simple from your body's point of view. In a sustained emergency, everything that isn't immediate survival gets deprioritized. Building tissue, repairing, reproduction, all of it gets throttled down while the threat is active. The problem with modern stress isn't its intensity. It's that it never resolves. Historically, stress was acute. Something happened, you dealt with it, it ended, your system returned to baseline. Modern stress is ambient and continuous. Notifications all day, work that follows you home on your phone, financial pressure, news designed to alarm you, and no clear moment where your brain receives the signal that the threat has passed. So cortisol stays mildly elevated all day, most days. And chronically elevated cortisol also promotes abdominal fat storage, which loops right back to habit 2. Here's the specific modern trap. Most men's relaxation isn't recovery. Scrolling on your phone, watching alarming news, gaming until late. These are stimulating, not restorative. Your body doesn't distinguish between a real threat and a stream of stressful information. You can spend 3 hours relaxing and never once let your nervous system drop out of alert mode. The fix: build genuine recovery, not just rest. A daily walk without your phone. The phone part is the active ingredient. Time outdoors, especially in morning daylight, which also anchors your body clock and improves sleep. And a hard boundary on stimulating input in the last hour of the day. You cannot eliminate stress, but you can make sure it actually ends sometimes. And that's what your hormones are waiting for. So here's what to actually do with this. Look at how these 3 connect, because they're not 3 separate problems. Bad sleep raises stress reactivity the next day. Elevated stress makes you sit more and train less. Sitting more worsens metabolic health, which worsens sleep quality. It's one loop, running in the wrong direction, which is genuinely good news, because it means it also runs in the right direction. Fix your sleep and your stress tolerance improves, and training becomes easier. Start training and your sleep improves. Every fix here makes the other fixes easier. If you want a starting point, do them in this order. First, protect your sleep. Caffeine cutoff, consistent wake time, phone out of the bedroom. Second, add resistance training and a daily walk. Third, build one real recovery window a day with no screen in it. Notice that none of this requires buying anything. There's no supplement stack here, no product. The most powerful hormonal interventions available to you are sleep, movement, and genuine recovery. And they're free. One honest note to close on. Habits matter, but they're not the whole picture. If you have persistent fatigue, low mood, or loss of drive that doesn't improve when you fix these things, get your levels actually tested by a doctor. Real numbers beat guessing from a video. But if you fix these 3 habits, most men feel the difference within weeks. Not because anything magical happened, but because they finally stopped fighting their own biology every single day. 3 habits. All of them normal. All of them invisible. You'll do at least 2 of them again today. Or you won't. That's the whole difference.